We're excited to have Tami-Kidd, author of the Mara Byrne Mystery Series, join Nancy and I here on Big Blend Radio today. And, you know, the joy is we've actually been able to meet Tammy in person, and her dog Millie and her husband Dave, and I think she kills him off in a lot of books. But
yes.
that's the thing.
Yeah. That
Tammy,
sounds good.
You are so sweet.
You'd be surprised how therapeutic that is.
Oh my gosh. And this is the thing, you're so sweet. And then I'm start reading your book. I'm like, Tammy, how did you do this? How are you killing people and there's blood and all this stuff going on? And yet you're so sweet. I mean, did you always read murder mysteries and thrillers?
No. Actually, when I was younger, I was really into the romance genre. I read tons of Danielle Steele, and
of course, yeah,
yeah. So that's where I really started out reading a lot with the romance, and then I got interested. Well, once I figured out that they were all the same, just different names and different locations, I decided, I want to spread my wings a little bit, and I started getting into the mystery, and I'm really in. I have a big interest in serial killers and things, that type of thing. So I just kind of went in that direction.
When you say you have a big interest in serial killers, is it trying to figure out why they do what they do or how they're different from people who would never even do such a thing?
Yes. It started out, when I was teenager, high school, and then into college, I wanted to get into psychology because I did want to figure out what made these people that had propensity to, do harms to other people like that. I wanted to know why, what made them tick, what caused them to do that. Was it their upbringing, or was it just a loose wiring somewhere in their brain, or it was just something that always interested me. And I think it kind of started when I was probably and I can't remember the exact year, but the year of the Charles Manson murders.
Oh gosh.
I got a hold of the book that came after the Helter Skelter book, and I was probably too young to read it at the time, but I read it, and it was just, I loved it. I wanted to read more, and I like a lot of the true crime stuff like that. So that's kind of where I get my dark side from.
And you said dark side, and that's cool because we always choose music for people, and I thought since you kill husbands off, that would end because one of our favorite bands is out of in her books, not in real life, in her books, and then it ties into you said dark side, but one of our favorite bands from Florida is the Cravens, and from their latest album Dakota Rose, we're going to play Dark Side of Love because I know.
Oh, how awesome!
We're going to have to do that, but this is so. Let's talk about, you've got Mara Byrne, and that is your main character. She's got her own series. And so did she come to you first and did you think you were going to do a series? I mean, didn't this kind of all start over the Namo, am I saying it right? Nano.
NaNoWriMo.
Okay.
Yep. It started, that was the first book that I wrote was back in 2010. I wrote Deadly. Well, it started out, it was originally titled Let Sleeping Dogs Lie. And so I redid it and named it Deadly Discovery. And that was in 2010, and that's when I got my start. I always liked writing, and I took a creative writing class earlier. I think it was in that same year in 2010. And one of my friends was telling me about Nanowrimo, and she was going to do it. And so she said, come on, you got to do this with me. You write 50,000 words in 30 days. and then once you do that, then at the end of the 30 days, they give you little prizes. And one of the prizes that they gave us was you could, at the time, Create Space was still around, and you could have your book put into a proof copy, which, like, oh my God, I could write this and actually have a printed copy of it. And
cool.
So that's what we did. And so I got the proof copy, and I started going through it and editing it, and I decided, well, hey, self-publishing was just starting to get really big to me at that time. And so I self-published at, I think it was at 2011. I think it took me probably a year or so to get it actually out there. And it did pretty good. And I didn't mean for it to be a series, but I felt like I left the first one a little hanging. And, you know, people, please be forgiving of us first-time authors, because that was my first book, and I think I rushed the ending a bit. So I decided, well, I need to kind of make a second one, kind of clear this up a little bit, and extend the story a little bit, and that's why I made the Deadly Deception. And then, huh?
I know I was going to say, so Deadly Deception comes from that, but you've got three out there for people, three altogether.
Yeah, I can't talk. Deadly Ever After is a short kind of a novella, and it is technically, my publisher has placed it as number one. So it's like the first book is Deadly Ever After, because in that book you really get introduced to Mara and find out, you know, kind of what she's like. And then the second book gets into the meat of the story of what happens with her husband and all that good stuff. So Deadly Ever After is really just a kind of a prequel. So even though I wrote it last, it really should be read first.
That's what I did. That's what was my first. Go ahead, Nancy. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's good that it's a series. I mean, I personally love series, because once you've built a character, if it's done,
true.
Once you've done that, and if I remember a character, then I think, because I have such a, you know, hectic lifestyle and hodgy-podgy memory, if I remember a character, then I think the author's done an outstanding job. So once I remember a character, then I want more, you know?
Yeah.
So I think,
and I am working on a fourth book.
Cool. Good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
The working title of it is Deadly Obsession, but like I said, that's the working title. But it's still, I think I'm about 70,000 words into it.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so it's coming along, and it's been a little slow because since COVID, I've been working from home, because I still have a 9-to-5 job, so I work full time. I wish writing was my time job, but it's not. So I'm still working 9 to 5, but I'm doing it from home. And you would think, okay, I'm working from home, I've got a lot of extra time to write. But really, when I get through working, because I have my personal computer sitting right next to my work computer, so I can just swivel a chair from one to the other. But by the time I get through working, I really don't want to. I want to get up and get away from the computer for a while.
Oh, yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, it's kind of hurt my writing a bit. So,
well, hopefully it'll turn around. I know that everyone does, you know, in writing, it's like same as musicians. You have that balance of career and writing. When it was pre-COVID, did you kind of do the 3 a.m. writing, or did you have like, I mean, do you like it all quiet? Because, I mean, we've been to your home, and it's so nice and peaceful. And, you know, I don't understand how you can write murders there, because it's so tranquil and pretty.
It's what goes up in the brain. Doesn't matter how quiet it is surrounding you, it ain't quiet up there with all those characters in there, let me tell you.
So do
they get a mind of their own.
Yeah, so do they talk to you? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when you meet people, do you a lot of our writer friends, I'm like, I'm scared to tell you anything because you're going to use it.
Oh, well, it is possible. I do get a lot of characters. I'm more of a character-driven writer. So my favorite pastime to get characters is I love being at the airport and watching the people at the airport.
Cool.
Because you can see some really, wild characters sometimes there, and then you just kind of you build on that. And I get a lot of characters from my dreams. Think I'm like the weirdest person ever because I can dream about people that I don't know, I've never met. They're not celebrities or anything. They're just random people, and I dream about these people, and it's like, where do they come from? Where? I don't know. So sometimes they end up in my books.
Another place to get really good characters is Las Vegas.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Well,
yes.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't have, I'm not that close. We're not that close to Las Vegas, but we do have Biloxi is near.
Yeah.
So we do get to go gambling from time to time, and yeah, you do see a lot of people at the casinos, but you need to be in books.
Well, our latest is truck stops or rest areas. So, you do sometimes these crazy long drives, and, you stop and, rest for a couple hours, and you have your sandwich, and you watch out and see, okay, are there lot lizards, or, you know what I mean? We always bring that up. It's terrible. But what's going on? And then you start wondering when people get out of the car, some people you can say that they're already annoyed with each other. There's maybe the husband and wife are having an argument. They pull over. You can tell how they pull in. They're either angry or they really have to go to the bathroom. So you get that kind of. That's our new way of looking at people. We should send them to you.
Yeah. Davey and I were on a trip up to Maryland one year, and we stopped at a restaurant, one of those all 24-hour breakfast places. And I wrote a poem based on a character that I saw in the restaurant. Because a lot of those 24-hour places, people go there in the wee hours of the evening after they've partied all night, and they get to get breakfast before they go home or whatever. But yeah, you can see some good characters in those 24-hour places, and I saw a man there, and it was something about him just struck me as, it was kind of like I wanted to know what his story was. And so when I got back in the car, I always bring my notebook with me, and when I got back in the car, I just started writing. And before you know it, I had a whole poem about him. So,
wow.
Yeah, you just got to write whenever the mood strikes you.
That's interesting because you talked about when we were spent time with you, you were talking about going and studying writing, the creative art of it, and that your teacher was into poetry, and you're going, I want to write crime.
Yes.
Why do I need poetry? Yet you do write poetry.
Yes.
You won awards for it. But there's a connection. In fact, after that, we talked about it on a show with other writers. We ended up, this has become a big topic now, how poetry assists in all writing. If you want to touch on that for people to kind of understand that it really does help in writing, I think, anything.
Well, the one thing that she told me whenever I was in her class, because I didn't really want to write poetry. I wanted to write fiction, and I went to her and I said, because everything we were doing was all centered around poetry, and I said, are we going to get into the fiction part of are we going to get to do that? And she said, "You're anxious, huh?" And I'm that's what I really want to do. I'm not a poet. And she said, "Well, poetry will really, really help your fiction writing." And I thought, "Well, how?" But she explained it to me as, when you write poetry, you're very limited in the amount of words that you have to say something. So you really have to pick out the best words to get across what you're trying to say. You need to pick out the most descriptive, the most, so you have to just be really picky about your words. And if you put that into your fiction writing, it'll be better, because and a lot of people just really put too much into their writing. Less is always better, because if you say it in less words, then it's usually more impactful than rambling.
Yeah, I really agree with that, because the one thing that kills me with a book is the first 3 pages are describing a sunset, and I'm over it by the first paragraph. Okay, the sun's going down. I get it. You know what? You don't really need to tell me every single thing, because my mind already goes there.
Yeah.
But,
a lot of writers like to spoon feed their readers, but the readers are smart people, and if you just give them a little bit, then they'll be able to figure it out. And besides, a lot of readers would rather picture it in their mind the way they see it than the way you see it, the author.
Yeah, for sure.
Because somebody, if I'm writing a character and I take 2 pages to explain how they look, well, that character to them may look completely different. Or, so it's better to just let the reader build the world. You just give them a little bit, just a little taste, and, just let them do the rest,
And I think that's right, because you want to build your own evil guy, the villain, or you know what I mean? You want to build.
I'm sorry.
Because you usually, as a reader, you build characters based on people oh, he's going to look like this, whether it's from a movie or the television or somebody we really know. You kind of build the character based on what the author tells you. And then if they tell you too much, kind of like, oh, I don't like that character, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. So it's better to just kind of, let your reader go on the journey with you, and not, don't tell your reader. It's the old, going back to the show don't tell thing that everybody learns when they're writing, is because you want to show things instead of telling things, because if you tell them, it's not fun for the reader. But if you show them, then they can picture it in their minds, and it brings them into the story. It makes them active in the story.
With Mara in this, she's your main character, and she's finding herself in all kinds of predicaments, and she seems to hang out with this dude, Investigator Alex Strange. Ooh, that's a good name.
Mm-hmm.
For an investigator, Alex Strange. Where do you get your names from? I like that one.
It's weird, because sometimes I'll be looking for a name, and I'll look up at my bookshelf, and I'll put 2 names together. Like, I'll see a book and it might have Severinsen on something, and then Stein on the other one, and I'll just kind of mix and match, and so I don't remember where I got Alex Strange, but it was, like I said, my first book, so
Hey, you got to start somewhere. But I mean, did you really have 3 books out? It was good. I mean, that's something to be proud of, and that's the thing. I mean, it's like you're writing something and you're writing good. I mean, it's good. You get people in the seat immediately, and I think that's really right what you're saying about don't overdo it. And the co-creative part of a reader is so exciting. In your book, you got me in immediately. And so that's
Good.
when Nancy took the other ones. Nancy's a pig when she likes a certain book. She just pigs out on the books and runs with them.
I'm just doing my job.
I know, but this is exciting, and that you have more. Would you want to have like a TV series, or should I say a Netflix special or something with your stories in writing? Because some people don't. They're like, don't ruin my characters or my writing. What would you like to see?
Oh my God, I'd love to see it.
Yeah,
I would. It would make my day if they called me up and said, "Oh, we'd like to make an hour special on your book or something." That would be. Yeah, I would love that. But I'm not going to hold my breath because that's rare, I guess, for some writers starting out. Not well. It has happened though. But
yes, it has.
A prime example is Stephanie Meyer. She wrote the Twilight series. They made movies from that. Yeah.
See, you never know.
I know.
It can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen. Well,
Yeah.
and then look, you've written the books too. I mean, it's like it's so much work to it. And then I want to let people know that your books are published through Cyanide-Publishing. You got to love that. And I remember when we were talking about that thing, we know that it's like a record thing or something. And it dawned on us why we know the name. Obviously, Cyanide, right? It's a good name. But when we were in Colorado, the streets in this one town in actually it was Canyon City and its neighboring town of Florence. And don't forget, they have the Supermax prisons over there. They I'm going to throw that in there. But they were the first oil town. They also have a territorial prison in Canyon City, and it's just really fascinating history. But they each have a street called Cyanide Street. I mean, would you live on Cyanide Street? It's interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't it weird though?
Well, it's because they're an oil town. They're an oil town, and then they have all the geology and everything going on.
Cyanide, that's just really, come on.
I know.
Like Cyanide Park. Let's go visit Cyanide Park.
Yeah, you got to tell your publisher that there's a street. They need to go put an office building on there. Do that.
But, that would be. Yeah. Well, they would have to go a long way because they're out of the UK, so they'd have to come over here to America.
But see, in the UK, I think dominate like crime writing. They are into murder mysteries and thrillers. I mean, I just think about all the TV shows that I grew up on, and what's her name? The letter she wrote, Murder She Wrote.
Yeah, Murder She Wrote.
Yeah.
Angela Lansbury. Oh man, I love
Angela Lansbury.
Yeah, I loved her. I loved watching, those stories, and then there's Nancy Drew as a kid. Nancy was in the States, right? Nancy Drew, was she American? She was American.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
she was American.
She's like the female Hardy Boys.
I like the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing.
Yeah,
having women being part of this is important too. That women are part of solving the crimes. It's not always the men. So is that something that was important to you? That you bring the strong women in here?
No, I wanted a strong woman character, but she's just an everyday. She's a writer in my book, and she doesn't really go out of her way to do these things. It kind of these things just fall in her lap, and she has to, she either has to crawl in a hole in the ground, or she has to, deal with it and figure it out. So she's resourceful, and I think people forget that women can be very resourceful, and it's that I didn't really start out intending for it to be, that way. She was just my main character, but she just kind of, she evolved as I wrote her, and she continues to evolve.
Do you talk to her?
So, she talks to me a lot.
And you don't answer back?
She goes, I would never do that.
Yeah. And they, and the fun thing about being a writer is and I guess I'm what you call a pantser. I don't sit down and plot. I do kind of have a rough outline, but I'm not really a plotter. But when I sit down because with the first book, I plotted it before Nano started because, I wanted to know where I was going because I knew I was going to be in a time crunch and I wasn't going to have all this time to figure out where it was going. So I had an outline. But when I started writing, that outline just went out the window because, it was like I didn't go in that direction at all. So your characters kind of take you along that journey with you, and that's the fun part of it. It's like you think you're going this way, but no, they got a different. No, you're going this way. So yeah, that's the fun part of writing. There are not so fun parts of writing, but that's not really writing. That's more of the editing part of it.
Oh, that's rough. The editing is hard.
Yeah.
And then some editors want to chop the babies, and you're like, leave the babies. It's my baby. But no, sometimes you have to do. Yeah. It happens.
Sometimes you have to do that.
And the other thing I want to touch on, speaking of like editing and, because writing is such a private, it's like a visual artist, a painter normally is alone, versus like musicians, we're all like, let's have a jam session, let's like work on this song together, and we're able to do that.
Yeah.
The majority of the time. If you're in a good band, your ego's behind you. But, we were talking, when we were with you, that you really got involved with other writers, not only in the craft of it, but also kind of like a writer support group, where you all get connected, but you also help market writers at one point. Everyone kind of, all the independents kind of banded together, which I think is still very necessary in this day and age. Amazon is great. However, you really have to, that's the other part of the whole book process is the marketing and letting people know you've created this fabulous book. But that's almost as hard as writing the book. Is that, but working together with people, that's big.
Yeah, it's very hard to market your book. We had a local writers group, and we would get together, and I was really surprised at the number of writers there are in this area, and we would have book signings. The library was very, very helpful, and they allowed us a big, huge room, and we had as many authors as we could get in there, and we set aside 1 or 2 days. It was usually like a Friday and a Saturday, or a Saturday and a Sunday, and we would have people from the community come out and meet the authors, and the books would be there for sale, and they would get to sign the books and talk to the authors, and it was to me, that part was so enjoyable. I maybe didn't sell a book that day, but that was okay because I got to meet a lot of people, and I got to be around other authors who, we can trade stories and commiserate, and it's very important for writers to be with other writers. I know it's a solitary endeavor. You have to do it alone, but go out in your community, find other writers, maybe start a critique group. If there's not a writers group, start one. Go talk to your local library and say, do you have one evening that we could use a room and meet in your room? Our library here locally is very, very good about doing things in the community for the patrons of that community. Yeah.
That's
cool.
Cool.
You have to kind of be proactive, and because it really helps to be with other people who know what you're going through. And we also had when I first started out back in 2010, we joined a writers group that was awesome. It was they had this conference, and it was a 3-day conference down by the beach, and they had big name all coming to this conference to do workshops, and it was the best ever. And but shortly thereafter, the group disbanded, and everybody, it was so sad because it was such a good group, and it was a large group. And so that's kind of when the library here approached me and asked if I would do the writers group. And I said, well, I've never done one before, but sure, I'll give it a shot. And I think it's been probably maybe 8 years, 7 years. It's been a long time. I can't remember when exactly I started, but it's been real rewarding. I love it.
That's cool. That's really cool. You know, it's I think when you get other people connected, it helps you grow as a writer too, and you get tips and ideas. And
that's right.
It's really nice when the creative arts can join together, and they so often do.
Help each other. Yeah,
it's really awesome. I like too that you are working with a library, because that's the other thing. We have to keep our libraries. You know, I know we're going digital in so many ways, but writers and libraries still have digital publications and ebooks, and they're just an important part of our community, and we need to keep them. And a lot of them are historic buildings that we want to keep as well. So I love that about you working with the library and doing that. But everyone, I want everyone to know about your website. You can go to TamiKidd.com, and that's Kidd with 2 D's, so, and Tammy's Tami, TamiKidd.com. She is also on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter under the same name, Tami Kidd. And you can also find her through Cyanide-Publishing, Amazon, all those places as well. And very excited. We hope to see you again real soon. I know we will. And we're excited for your next book. So get on it. Get to work.
I am. A few of my writer friends have been. We do writing sprints Saturday evenings. So I've been doing at least some writing. I'm working on it.
Awesome.
So, okay. One quick question. Are you related to Captain Kidd?
I knew the day wasn't going to go by without being asked that question.
I just want to let you down.
No. Unfortunately not. I wish I was.
Be a good story. Be a good story. Well, we'll send you updates from rest areas as we travel across the country.
Oh, please, yes.
You want some
and pictures.
Oh yeah. Well, we can send you some interesting pictures. Are you kidding me? Don't even start me. I'm bad. I'm bad at that.
Pictures.
But we'll send you pictures of like what is this person thinking at this moment? You know, why is this person still hanging outside the bathroom with an open bag and just standing there? And then what is? Why is this girl walking alone to the woods or the rest area by herself?
Yeah.
You know?
And who does
oh
that
my
trucker...
gosh, I could get some stories out of that one.
Okay, and then there's also, who does that trucker really have tied in the back of his truck where you can't see in?
Do you know how many truckers have dogs? There are a lot of truck drivers who have dogs, and so you see dogs in rest areas all the time, and they get them out and walk them. And I know I'm going to start doing like a rest area map so people know the good rest areas across the country.
Yeah,
I think that's
the one not
that's a good idea.
Yeah, some of them have pollinator gardens and butterfly gardens, and some of them have. There's one near you in Florida that is up in the Panhandle, and it actually has a walking trail, and they have this whole thing about get out of your car, walk those muscles, get going. And here's the walking path, which is cool, you know. So, but you do meet people. You meet people working. I mean, I've sat outside there with my computer and worked. I could go on and on about what goes on in rest areas, and we love it. I don't know. Other people get scared and look at us like we're weird. But, you know, the other night
it's a scary time now, too, though. Yeah.
I know. We were in Arkansas going from East Texas to St. Louis, and we ended up in a rest area at night on a full moon.
It was so weird.
I know, right? It was a full moon, and they actually encourage you to camp in this rest area, and it was all in the woods. And so it was kind of, weird. There was
It
no
was
one there,
beautiful.
and then there's a couple people, but we did hear some rustling while we were like, oh, let's have our sandwiches out in the little gazebo thing. It was cold, but you couldn't really see what was going on other than this moon. And I hear something rustling behind Nancy. I'm like, okay, we can get in the car now. In the car we go. I moved the car.
Just a deer.
But how do you know no one is lurking in the rest area just waiting for two women to get out of the car like late at night with their sandwiches and wine? We get wine time in Pittsburgh.
Let me just put it this way. It had 4 legs.
Yeah. My mother and I, we would travel from Arkansas to California to visit family, and we always stopped at rest areas because I was too young to drive, and she was the only driver, and she would get out and stretch her legs, but we would sleep in the rest area, just her and I, and sometimes she would get out and lay on the table because she needed to stretch out. So, I mean, but that was that was a long time ago. But yeah, we used to use the rest areas too. And I was even scared a little then. And, this was probably in the 70s,
Yeah.
And
we kind of do
I'm
that.
telling my age now.
We do that. And by the way, if anybody heard that interesting sound behind us, this is Lenny the pug, the pig pug. And so, we pet sit across the country, and sometimes dogs don't care if you're recording a podcast. But Lenny wanted to let everybody know that he snores, and he's the coolest dog ever with his snores, man. He's cute, a cute pug. He just looked up at me like, how dare you tell the world that I snore? But anyway, just because it did sound odd after we're talking about rustling in the bushes, and then all of a sudden it sounds like a chainsaw. It's a chainsaw massacre in the rest area. I think something has to happen in a rest area. I think that should be part of your story.
You know what? That's not a bad idea.
I know. We can take photos of them for you. Yeah, because there's, what my thing is, when you go to the rest area and you go in the bathroom and it's late at night, or, some of them are really good and have security 24/7 and they're lit. And then some of them, like this one, we're like, dude, what are we doing? And, so the whole thing is, I'm in there, I'll wash my hands, and I'm out there. I won't even dry my hands because I'm like, you're trapped in the bathroom. Someone could just walk in the bathroom, do whatever they want to do with, if you're on your own in there. The bathroom is like a place to be cornered. And so,
here's a tip.
I just remember something. There is a scene in a rest area in my Deadly Deception. Yeah, Deadly Deception does have a scene in the rest area.
Cool.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
All kinds of
now we know
areas.
you should always back your car into a parking space at a rest area,
so you can get out.
Can make a quick getaway if something weird happens. Yeah.
It depends on what rest
area. It's a travel tip over what's behind you.
It's a travel tip, because if you have to back up and then especially if you're a little scared, nervous, upset, then you tend to not drive as you would normally. So it's really good to back in. And then when you see somebody else back in, you go, I wonder what they're up to.
Yeah. I sleep with the keys in between my fingers, so that if anybody somehow gets through the door, then I can nail them with my keys in my fingers. But this is all real good conversation, ladies. Don't mess with us in the car. We'll get you. Well, we're going to play from Dark Side of Love for you. Again, everybody, this is from our friends, the Cravens, over in South Florida, and you can keep up with them at cravensongs.com. It's from their latest album, Dakota Rose, and the album art even looks kind of murder mystery-ish, so everyone should check that out. So here it is, Dark Side of Love, and keep up with Tammy at TammyKidd.com. Thank you so much for joining us, Tammy. It's been a real pleasure, and we'll see you soon.
I love doing this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
All right. Well, so you take care and get back to that writing.
See you soon.
Cool.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
asking for. Should have stopped when the week hit the floor. Pack my things and go. Don't look back, it's cold. It's just what it is for now. For a little while. A little while. Oh no. Don't go. It's just the dark side of love. Oh no. Don't you go. It's just the dark side of love. Lost my ship. 1, 2, 3. Lost at sea. It will be. I got all my hugs and kisses all wrapped up in your best wishes. Sometimes I